Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Go ahead and call this meeting to order on November 10th, 2025. So welcome everyone. Just a second. Let's get the agenda pulled up. Close out of me. I need to look onto yours, it's not, So, Kim, we're gonna just appoint you the timekeeper tonight, are you all right with that?
Yep.
Very good. Public appearances on non-agenda items.
Yes, we've got Christina here with Wisconsin Eco Latinos.
Oh, great. Nice to see you again, Christina.
Wisconsin Eco Latinos.
Okay.
And I believe there's can be a quick discussion on, it sounded like you had a fair or an event that you were planning. You wanted to just kind of let us know about that, and maybe you were looking to see if there was any interest in the RCC to get involved with this in some way.
Certainly, yes. Yes, from a conversation that we had with the Mayor Aratra Frata, Wisconsin Eco-Latino has been hosting a bilingual environmental conservation fair for the past 3 years. The first year, 2023, we did it at Warner Park. 24 and 25, we did it at Elbert Park. And we considered that it would be fantastic to do it, to host it in a location within Pittsburgh, the city of Pittsburgh. Major Aratra Frata suggested that we hosted the fair at the new hub.
Mm-hmm.
We explore a couple of dates. We usually do it either the Saturday before or after Earth Day. And so from conversation with Phil Grub, I think it seemed like the April 18 would be the best day for to host the fair within the city of Fitchburg. And so what's next is to make sure that the hub it could be able, we could use the new hub for the event. Since it has not been open yet, so we will be there at the inauguration day, and we will be happy to either partner or with the city of Fitchburg to host the bilingual environmental conservation fair 2026.
Okay, so it sounds like you're looking for the 18th then of April, that Saturday. We're potentially planning on having a waterway cleanup in the morning that day. I don't know what time your event would start at. Is that something also that's kind of a morning, afternoon event?
We have done it in the past between 11 and 4 p.m.
Okay. So the
So I
waterway
can
cleanup
say I
would
had
be before that.
suggested the 18th because I believe the 25th will be when they do the tree plantings for Arbor Day, and that'll be more of an all-day event. I know we hadn't spoken about the waterway cleanups yet when I responded, so I should have checked in with you, Ben. I was thinking we might do the 25th just for warmer weather, and so I thought the 18th would be the least likely to conflict. But if it's cleanups on the 18th in the morning, Arbor Day tree plantings possibly on the 25th, then I'd have to confirm that with Anna. I think the 18th might still be better if cleanups are just in the morning, but it might be kind of a flip of the coin.
Yeah, so
And this year we had it both weekends, right? And
we ended up,
and tree planting both weekends. So take your pick, right?
Yeah.
Recycling event.
the 11th.
11th, okay.
We've done the waterway cleanup as early as like the first weekend in April, so it could be the 4th or the 5th too.
That might be Easter.
Oh, if it's Easter, then that's maybe best.
I think Easter's the
I believe the 4th is Easter.
Okay.
Yep. 5th. Yep. Sunday the 5th.
But
thanks.
I mean, 18th sounds like a good day for the fair.
It's the afternoon.
So would you have like different like environmental like businesses that would be involved and potentially have booths, and then have like some type of program afterwards with some environmental speakers? Is that what you're thinking?
So it really is the majority of organizations present are nonprofit organizations. There are some educational, they all bring educational information. Many organizations related with UW and Extension. There are some that have information on solar energy. We've had information on electric vehicles. And last year we had 28 organizations present between nonprofit, government, and university. And we, of course, we encourage we encourage them all to bring bilingual information if they are available, if it's available. We also offer volunteers are around offering interpretation for people that doesn't speak English.
Very good. No, it sounds wonderful. Would definitely, I think we're definitely interested in partnering. So we have partnered with other portions of the city. So for instance, our Resource Conservation Commission has worked with like our tree committee in the community, and we put on a tree diversity event a while back. We've partnered, we're talking about partnering with our bikes and ped group, and potentially doing a sustainability event with them. So we're completely open to partnering, and we do have some experience, although it's been a while back. We did do a Green Expo back in 2010, and then we followed it up the year after with a Transportation Expo, where we did something similar, and then we had, so we had an expo period where people could talk to these nonprofits and businesses that are green businesses, but then we had a program that followed that where we had a panel discussion, or we had a speaker. So that doesn't need to be part of this event, but I just wanted to share that we've had that experience. And then we have, a good amount of experience of marketing bigger events like this, events, environment, sustainability events that we've had in Fitchburg. We have done this before. And so I would say we probably just want to get, maybe some members from our commission to start having some meetings with you, gather information, and then they would bring those to our RCC meetings, and then we could kind of co-plan the event, if that would be helpful to you, or you can bring us in at a later stage and have us have a role. So we're pretty open.
Yeah, either way works well with us. Yeah, and yeah, we would be happy, to bring in your experience. We're open to have speakers too. I understand the new hub has a meeting room, that can be used. So we can definitely evaluate this space, and from there, we can, plan accordingly.
Yeah, and we'll be able to get Christina out to the hub later this month. I think you're planning on attending the ribbon cutting. Is that right?
Yeah,
So we
right.
can,
Yeah,
okay, we can check
definitely,
out the
yeah.
space and make sure that it feels like it's going to work. There is that indoor space that opens up, kind of a garage door opens up to the outside. And certainly if this is being held in Fitchburg, we'd look to get FACTv and to do kind of their standard marketing push as well. We want to make sure that this gets as much publicity as possible.
That would be fantastic.
Well, we I work with Focus on Energy as well, and we've been there. We've been in one of the events you had, I think, last year. So it's pretty fun to see how people know about this event and just show up. So if I can help, in anything, I'm here to be the one to help. I'll be there anyway.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you so much. Yeah, you guys were there this year, actually, spring.
It was this year, right? Yeah.
Awesome.
So sounds good. I think, any recommended next steps at this stage that you would have?
So next step would be reviewing the place, the hub, and making the plan. And from then, then it would be just, in January, probably we'll get back, together, and then we plan, the invitations for the organizations and the marketing.
Okay. So
we usually also, we usually have also raffles, like we raffle things that are related to environment. So we will have to, gather, resources to find, items to raffle.
Yeah. Would it make sense for us to kind of figure out who from our commission could maybe, kind of take the lead with this event and then participate in a meeting with you and your team and just kind of carve out what roles could be? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it would definitely make sense. Yeah. So we can schedule, a meeting early January.
Early January would be a good time for that? Okay. We'll plan on that as a next step. In the meantime, we'll try to identify a few people that can participate in that and get started with co-planning this event with you. I think this is a great opportunity for us to leverage kind of our connections within Fitchburg to help bring as many people to the event as possible.
Fantastic. That would be great. And then we will definitely secure the place by the end of the year, right? By, early December, we will decide, the hub works for us, and then we will secure the place, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Sounds great. Thanks so much for your time tonight. Anything else?
No, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your willingness to partner with us and to bring, this nice event to Fitchburg.
Yeah, look forward to it.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Thank you, Christina. Bye.
Thank you, Diana.
All right. Moving on to agenda item number 3, approval of the minutes from the October 13th, 2025 RCC meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the October 13th, 2025 RCC meeting minutes.
Okay. Anybody second?
Second.
Bill seconds. Any discussion? Comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of the draft minutes as included in your meeting packet from the October 13th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Gotta give them time.
Okay, hearing none opposed. The minutes pass. Moving on to agenda items for tonight. We have new business. So we're going to start off with agenda item 4A, which is Diana's introduction. So we kind of did a little introduction last week. I think a couple people might have been maybe not here, but we can do a more formal introduction tonight. So welcome, Diana, to the RCC. We're really excited to have you and bring your energy and skills with energy, efficiency to the table. And I guess, do you want to just kind of introduce yourself again, and then we can kind of go around quickly?
Sure. I apologize I'm not there. I was planning on being in person so you guys can meet me and I can meet you, and it's just different. But I was a little sick, so I decided to just don't pass my bugs around. So I stayed home. So I am a bilingual project coordinator. I work with focus on energy. This is my second year there, and I do now outreach a lot. So I reach out to different organizations, different community-based organizations, and I love that. I love the connection and being able to basically explain and teach energy efficiency to Spanish speakers. But right now I'm doing it also English speakers as well, because I'm everywhere. And I love that. I was a teacher previously, but I do have a background in law and environmental conservation, and I really am passionate about sustainability and put the word out there of and teaching people about how we can be more sustainable, we can help the environment, we can preserve our resources, and connect. So those are my passions.
Excellent. Well, I think you'll be a great fit. We have kind of a diverse skill set kind of across our board. And so, we have people that have environmental background, people that don't, but are just passionate about it. So, I think we have, a good group of people, and even within the environmental and sustainability realm, coming from different backgrounds. So, what makes us different makes us stronger as a commission. So, always trying to tap into individual passions and sustainability as much as we can. And when we get ahead to our discussion about our planning for 2026, feel free to bring some of those ideas to the table. And if you're just trying to get, introduced to kind of our things, like we can always kind of bring things to the table, like it's not a hard and fast plan, but like it's our general plan, and we can always kind of adjust as things kind of pop up as the year goes on. But it does give us a good guiding light for the year ahead. So maybe we could work through introductions. So my name is Chris Jimison, so I'm the chair of the Resource Conservation Commission. I've been on the commission since 2008, shortly after moving to Fitchburg. I did have a couple years off, I think from 2011 to 2013, as I had a new son that we had adopted from Ethiopia at the time. And then in 2013, I rejoined and currently serving my second round as the chair. So I was the chair from 2015 to 2019, and then just this past May got back into the mix on it. My background is I'm mostly a solid waste engineer. So by day I'm an environmental consultant. So I work for a local firm here called SCS Engineers here in Madison, and I do a fair amount with solid waste management. So that's probably one of my key areas and passions within the commission. I'll pass it over to Ron.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, Deanna. Welcome to the commission. It's great to have you on board. My name is Ron French. I've been on the commission since 2020. And I was chair before Chris came on board as chair for this term. My background is in environmental science, by training is more in aquatic ecology. I run my own consulting business. That's a veteran-owned business, doing a lot of particularly water quality and stream type work and fisheries work. My wife and I moved to Fitchburg in 2016. She works over at the UW Medical Center in the intensive care unit. And we really love Fitchburg. It's a great community. It's got great bike trails, which we both enjoy. A lot of environmental activities going on, a lot of green space. So for us, it's a great community to live in. And I'm glad I was able to participate and help make things more environmentally friendly in Fitchburg.
Absolutely. Bill?
Yeah, I'm Bill Jetzer. I'm an alder. I've been on city council since April of 23, and I've been on the Resource Conservation Commission here since 2024, about a year and a half now. My passions are, climate change, energy efficiency, that sort of thing. So of course I'm very interested in energy efficient buildings and energy efficient transportation, since that's like 2/3 of everything. So those are my goals, expanding transit within the city, designing our new neighborhoods to be walkable so that cars are, at best an inconvenience rather than a necessity, that sort of thing. And actually for the January committee of the whole meeting, I've arranged to have the passive building people show up, and they will give us a presentation on.
That'd be pretty neat.
Yeah. So I like to note that we've got roughly 36,000 people here, and typical code minimum buildings are consume about 6 times as much energy as a passive building. So if we had 250,000 people all in passive buildings, we'd be using the same amount of energy to heat and cool.
That's wild to think about. Yeah. Thanks, Bill. Ben?
Hi, I'm Ben Schulte. Been with the city of Fitchburg since 2022, so I'm one of the environmental engineers at the city. So I deal with anything stormwater related or refuse and recycling related. My background is more in stormwater, so I'm very passionate about urban runoff and improving water quality throughout the city. And then it's been a good experience so far being an RCC, because I think, as you can see, and as Chris said, you've got a pretty diverse background with experts in different fields. So I've certainly learned a lot being at these meetings as well. And we're looking forward to having you here, and appreciate you wanting to be part of the commission.
Very good. I'll pass it over to Kim.
All right. Well, welcome. It's great to have you on board. And I have been on the commission. I never can remember. I think it's either 2013 or 2014. I have to go back and look. But I love this commission because it is such an active group of people who have all different passions, and it's a great opportunity to work on things that you really are passionate about. I work for the Wisconsin Land and Water Conservation Commission, and I do youth education. So I work with students across the state of Wisconsin on educating them about the importance of conservation. And so my passions kind of lie within the education and outreach realm. I also serve on the outreach committee, which is part of RCC. And I also am very passionate about reducing our use of plastics, and never stop talking about it, to the point where my family always are asking me questions about what to do about certain things. So I think I'm at least getting through to them. But recycling, plastics, and climate issues are a huge concern. So welcome.
All right, Phil.
Thank you.
Hey, Deanna, I know we've gotten a couple chances to talk. Just saw you at the Sustained Aid Summit last week, but a quick recap. So, Phil Groupie, I've been here for 6 years. I joined the city in fall of 2019. I'm the sustainability specialist, so primarily I work on tracking energy usage, renewable energy production. Initially, it was trying to get us towards our clean energy resolution goals from 2019. Well, this spring we passed our first sustainability plan, so now it's putting that into action. But then also work with Ross, our transportation engineer, on bike and various cycling matters around the city. So I helped to bring in the e-bike share network that we've got, and staff the Bike and Pedestrian Commission as well.
Very good. Thanks, Phil. And Ryan?
Hi, welcome. I know we've talked a little bit already in email, so it's good to put a face to a name. Ryan Hutter, I'm no longer the newest member of the committee now that you've joined, so that's pretty cool. I've been on the commission since, I think it's April, right after, I think, yeah, the appointment then. I've been in Fitchburg since 2021. My wife and I moved here after living in an apartment in Madison for a few years. So got a little bit of space, enjoying it so far. Neighbors have been great. And so I guess background a little bit, I work in the Wisconsin State Budget Office. So my policy area is agriculture and environment largely over the last 8 years or so. I've picked up some corrections policy, which is unrelated to this commission. But I've got a familiarity with a lot of the programming that I think is brought up, or at least the funding streams that kind of gets its way into local government. And so this commission offered me an opportunity to kind of get this back end and see how a lot of the state money that we allocate and work with the governor's office on getting allocated out to local governments actually works. So welcome again, and I look forward to a future meeting, getting to actually see you in person.
Very good. So that's our commission.
Thank you.
We're excited to have you and start to get to work with you. The next item on the agenda I have is 4B, which is a RCC procedures review. Diana, I did share an email with you this afternoon with a number of items that you probably haven't had time to look through everything, but should give you a good base to kind of like look at our page on the Fitchburg website, and tell you when our meetings are. They're typically this second Monday of the month. I don't know what situations pop up where we change it, but it's pretty rare that we change it. If we do, we typically do like a doodle poll of some sort to figure out if we need to move it, but that happens it seems like once every couple of years that we actually need to move one. Let's see, we do a lot, I think you've probably heard that we do a lot of events, and so, it's not like we're doing an event every month, but we did, just have an event last week, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. So that was a Fitchburg Green Thursday, we called it, where we showed a documentary and had a discussion at the library. And then we'll do typically an annual event. We participate, we don't have meetings in the month of April and December. December just because it's kind of busy, everybody's busy with year-end stuff. And April we typically don't, because that's when we're probably most active in terms of it being Earth Month. And so we're out and about doing events. So, it sounds like we have an event already lined up potentially for April now. And then, we'll do our waterway cleanups. We also do e-cycling and recycle event, that in the month of April, and then there's Arbor Day. So there's something going on just about every weekend. So that's why we take the month of April off in terms of having meetings. So we have 10 meetings a year. The meetings typically last from 6:30 to somewhere between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. We try very hard not to go past the 9 o'clock. Tonight with the Packers playing, I'm ambitious to try to end this one at about 8:30 tonight. So I don't want any score updates from anybody in here. If you can avoid them, have everything else off. I'm going to try to play some catch up. But in terms of our activities, so in terms of our meetings, we do have our meeting minutes, which are kept by staff between, is it more so you, Ben, or is it Phil?
Yeah, it depends. Who's ever here. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
So they're keeping, kind of very high-level meeting minutes. Those are the meeting minutes that end up in our packet. We keep track of more action items on our unofficial version of the minutes, and so we've been keeping these for the last couple of years now. So I was keeping them as vice chair, and now Ron is keeping them as vice chair, and then we'll share those out in between meetings. So it's a good way to check in and just, did I have any action items that were assigned to me that I'm in charge of? It's just a way to kind of keep track of, that we're getting the things done that we get assigned in these meetings. So we have to have at least, 4 to have a quorum for our RCC meetings, and so we have that quorum. So if we don't have that, we don't have enough quorum to have an RCC meeting where we can vote on certain items that are up for votes. So one of the things that we have to be careful with is our emails. So this is probably a good reminder for all of us, and Bill kind of brought a good approach that I've been following, because I've always struggled with how to best do this. But he'll typically put like one person, like he'll say, "Dear Ben," and then he'll say in parentheses, "BCC all other RCC members." And so that way we can't have a reply all where we have a walking quorum. And so that's been one way that we try to get around that. So when we share out meeting minutes, you might not see all the emails of everybody in the group, because we're trying to avoid that walking quorum. So I think, we have gotten pretty good at doing things that way, but we're always trying to avoid that walking quorum with emails. So that's, just kind of take note of some of the emails that might be coming out from, I think most of them will be coming out from myself and Ron. So just kind of look at how we structure those emails. So if you want to share some information with the group, you can send it out that way. You could just send it to me and blind copy everybody else. That way we can, avoid these walking quorums when we are trying to share information in between meetings. Any questions or anything else anybody else wants to add on just some of our procedures?
Yeah, I think the walking quorum was the key one. It's one people always get confused about.
Yeah, there's a little cheat sheet in the agenda packet. It's actually from the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, but it's their open meetings law, or their open meeting laws cheat sheet. And it's a pretty good little document. It has a section on walking quorum. So recommend giving that a look. I think it summarizes it nicely.
Our city council, Valerie Zisman, she likes to say that we should, if we have interactions with other members that are not publicly noticed, limit it to just you and one other person. Because there is a thing called a negative quorum. So if you have, something that requires a 2/3 vote, for instance, you can have a minority. You don't need more than 50% in order to tank a vote. So keep that in mind. And then the other thing that she says is, dance like no one is watching, but write your emails as if your mom is going to read them in public.
That's good advice. I'll add a couple of other things too. So with our community outreach subcommittee, one of the things that we do have for events is like a marketing plan. And so Ryan has been involved with that. I've been involved, Kim's involved. So we have 3 members on there right now. If that's something that interests you, we can kind of talk about rearranging the situation. Potentially I would, could just step into focusing on the chair role, and you could be part of that subcommittee if that's something that interests you. We could kind of have that pass off. But we do have like marketing plan, old flyers, and we would, share kind of some of our community outreach subcommittee tools that we have, with you. I'm in the process of kind of working on getting Ryan up to speed on that as, another newer member that's been a part of that group. And so that's one item. The other thing I will mention is that we do Fitchburg Star articles. So we write articles for the Fitchburg Star, and we try to do them in a very persuasive way. If you've been living in Fitchburg for a while, you may have seen our articles in there. It's typically one that we put in every month. You're welcome to join in that effort when you feel comfortable to do so. We do have some guidelines, like number of words that we're trying to hit. We're also trying to hit a kind of a persuasive approach, trying to make something, that goes into the newspaper well. So we try to avoid lists as much as possible. We try to keep it more in a narrative, but sometimes we do have some lists that get put in there. But generally, we're just trying to write a persuasive article that's hitting a certain number of words, and we have some other guidelines that we can share with you when you get ready for that. I think one of our, things that, we haven't done as well with that is we have not had a lot of, I think people have been getting the articles done, and then, we have like maybe a day to get them reviewed and sent into the Star. So I'd like us to try to start targeting to try to get those done, more like 5 to 7 days in advance, so we have a little bit of time to review. You can incorporate, who's ever writing the article can incorporate those comments, and then we can submit without it being a rush at, kind of that time period. And those are typically due the first Friday of the month, so that they can get in before the Fitchburg Star is getting published roughly around the 10th of each month. So just to kind of keep that in mind. But, generally we're trying to share that out with commissioners so that a peer review can at least be done to wordsmith or catch things. So like I always feel like if we can get feedback on things, we can enhance the products, or content that we're putting into the Fitchburg Star. So just wanted to share that as well. I think those are the main procedural things. I'm sure there's some other ones. If you have any questions, feel free to ask those.
Yes, I do. Is that okay? Can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
So how long in advance you share the articles usually? Because during the week, I'm juggling a lot of things. So I saw the article and I was just like, I wanna look at it, but then I think that you have to turn it really fast. So I was just like, oh, I don't have time. It's already time. Just
right.
comment.
So I think that's what we'll try to shoot for. Is we'll try to shoot more 5 to 7 days ahead. So Andrew, who's not here yet, is our facilitator of the Fitchburg Star articles. So work with him to try to help manage that effort to try to hit those targets. So we have a little bit more time to review them, but obviously some things pop up. So if somebody can't get an article done and we have to do a last minute review, that'll happen. But as a general target, I think we should just try to target getting them done a little bit earlier. We try to assign them 2 to 3 months in advance. So, that can help to, people have plenty of time to work on them. Any other questions?
Yeah, are there any particular topics that you want to address in the articles? Is that discussed before, or anybody can pick?
So we'll have an agenda item and we'll talk about it during that. So it's mostly if you have an idea, bring it to the table, and very rarely are we gonna shoot something down. We're gonna just say, oh, we had an article on that recently, or we'll say, yeah, that'd be great, and maybe we can share a couple ideas with you, or share a similar article that you can kind of, use as a, just kind of a point of reference for how we've talked about it in Fitchburg before. But I'm sure there's probably, some good topics that you can bring to the table. So you know, we'll be anxious to get you in the mix if that's something that you'd like to do. At some
Thank you.
Okay, very good.
You might mention attendance at the meeting, at these meetings. If you're not going to be available, to send the email to you.
Yeah.
Excused.
Okay. Yeah, so I think if something pops up today, you know, I'll make Ryan the guinea pig. So Ryan emailed me today and said that he was feeling under the weather and he was going to be, you know, going virtual instead of attending in person today. And so I said, I don't really need to know that exactly going forward. But if you can't, you know, if something pops up and you can't attend a meeting, if you can let me know or let Ben know ahead of time, that's helpful. So then, you know, then it's considered excused absence. If you have, you know, a number of unexcused absences to these meetings and those add up, then you know, that might result in us going in another direction as a commission. I don't remember if there's an exact amount that we start to have a discussion about it. Is it 2 or 3?
I don't know. 3 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't really gotten to that point with this commission before, but it's always better, you know, like if something pops up, that's okay, things like that happen in life, but do your best to try to just give me or Ben a heads up on that ahead of the meeting, and you know, then it's considered an excused absence.
Yeah, so that brings up an interesting point though. So if we don't have a full quorum, but we also don't have any items that we're voting on, do we still meet?
You can, yeah. So I mean, you really only need the quorum for the items that you're taking action on.
Is there an official policy that we follow, or?
So, well, if you can't officially, are you allowed to officially begin a meeting if you don't have quorum? You definitely couldn't vote on minutes even on approving the previous month's meeting minutes.
You can't do minutes, but if you've got stuff like Fitchburg Star article, you know, you can definitely do that.
So you can start a meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I think it even.
We've never, I mean, again, it's a thing that in 17 years we've never had it. We've gotten close a couple times.
The member handbook says, let's see what it says here. It says it, geez, I can't remember the exact place. It recommends, you know, you may want to move the meeting to a different date. But I really don't think it says you have to. And from my understanding, as long as it's not an official, you know, item that needs action, voting action, you can kind of go through the agenda.
What about it when it says that first thing, the cheat sheet? Is it a meeting?
Yeah. Well,
I have a question.
Official or?
Sorry, I just have a question, a quick question. So is it required for me to be in person all the time?
No. You could be virtual or you could be in person. So kind of depends on the evening, you know, like I think most people in this group have gone a little bit of, you know, each way, you know, both virtual. I mean, we had all virtual meetings for practically 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
So we were slow to come out of the virtual realm, but we did, and you know, it's always, you know, kind of nice to see fellow commissioners and have some conversations outside of the work we're doing on the commission, you know, following the meetings and whatnot. So, but yeah, like I was saying with Ryan, like, you know, he's been at most meetings and today he was feeling under the weather, and you said you're feeling a little bit under the weather as well. So like perfectly fine to, you know, and appreciated that you're thinking of us and trying to keep us healthy, to go virtual. And I don't really need it, you know, we don't need a notice for that. Like if you can go, you know, either way for a given meeting. We generally, I mean, I think the 4 of us have been generally attending in person. So between Bill and Ben and Ron and myself, we've been attending, and Ryan and Kim typically attend meetings. So yeah, it kind of depends on the week.
Generally, it's certainly better to call in and attend remotely than to not join at all.
Yeah.
So if getting there in person is an issue, don't let that be a reason to not join. I've certainly sat in on numerous different commission meetings where it's a mix of in person and remote. So it's Fitchburg's gotten really good about supporting that. I will note, Ben, it's probably worth, like Chris said, this never happens with RCC, but it's worth us at least digging into when I'm looking in the member handbook. The specific language is, in general, business cannot be conducted without a quorum except for setting a time to adjourn, adjourning, setting a recess, or taking measures to obtain a quorum. So texting, calling people to see if they're going to make it.
My interpretation of business is only with things that you vote on.
Ordinance.
Right. That's where it's a little bit vague. The clause, the phrase "in general" kind of. I'll want to check in and just make sure that as long as we didn't hold any votes, it would be still fine to carry the meeting through.
Yeah.
I think it's not a problem, and again, never really an issue for RCC, but would be good to know.
Yeah, I think we've just had a couple of close calls where we got to 4, over the 17 years I've been a part of it, but like we've never gotten into the situation where we just had 3. This has been a pretty good attending group. I will say when I first started, every meeting went until like 10 or 10:30. And so we have definitely made some improvements since that time period. When these meetings were going, 3.5, 4 hours minimum for a period of time, we were really working through some challenging things at the time, kind of like the grassroots efforts of where we were going with sustainability at the time. So we were working through the U.S. Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement and kind of where our role was going to be with that. And it was an intense period of RCC that laid some good groundwork for the things we're doing today. So anybody else have anything else on that? Otherwise, I think we're ready to move forward. I know we're a little bit behind schedule. So moving ahead to agenda item, Agenda item 4C, resolution R-201-25, authorizing acceptance of the 2025 stormwater utility facility maintenance bid. Ben?
Yeah, a little background on this. So periodically the city of Fitchburg will have to perform some maintenance on basins, wet ponds, infiltration, things of that nature. So this specific project will involve dredging of the Quarry Hill Pond.
Do we need to make a motion to approve it before?
Eventually, yeah.
Before we do this discussion, or?
Let's do this. That's what we usually do. I'll make a motion to approve resolution R-201-25.
I second it.
Okay.
All right.
Discussion.
So, dredging of the Quarry Hill Pond. There's quite a bit of accumulated sediment. This pond also has not been really maintaining a permanent pool. So, the water's kind of coming in, it's stirring up all the sediment, and it's not really doing as much as it could or is supposed to be. So we'll be dredging out several thousand cubic yards of material, and then also installing the clay liner. Work will also involve some remediation of a failed infiltration basin that's actually just to the south of the Quarry Hill Pond. So this infiltration basin has had issues with inundation for several years now. The city's tried a couple different things, just kind of, we've had geotechnical consultants out to take a look at the soils, both the soils at the surface and then underlying soils. So we've had test pits done. I've tried just kind of ripping up and fracturing the bottom of it to see if that would help promote infiltration. But none of those things have worked, so we're looking at a more substantial improvement. So that'll involve basically taking out all of the existing engineered soil. It's just very contaminated with clay and silt, as well as digging down an additional depth depending on the underlying soil. We know there are some clays out there that we want to remove,
and then replacing that with a gravel storage layer, basically to allow the water more time to infiltrate. We'll also be putting under drains in, primarily just to help with getting the vegetation established. Having that established vegetation is also important to maintaining the desired infiltration rates, just with the roots kind of breaking up the soil. So ultimately, we would like to kind of disconnect those under drains, but I want to put those in for now. So that's the project. We solicited bids and received bids from 3 responsible bidders. The apparent low bidder was RG Houston in the amount of $773,157. That was about $40,000 above the engineer's estimate, but still kind of within the right ballpark. The other 2 bidders were also in that realm, so that's kind of a good sign. So we'd also be looking for a 5% contingency. Just it's really, in this project, there's not a ton of unknowns. You know, there's not going to be utilities that come out and surprise us. So it's more of if we find that we want to remove additional soil from Techland's infiltration basin to install more gravel, that would be the main point of the contingency. So yeah, that's kind of the highlights of the project. Happy to answer any specific questions if there are any.
For the dredging, are they doing hydraulic or mechanical?
Mechanical.
Mechanical.
Would be the plan. Yeah.
And then where are they placing the dredge spoils when they dredge it?
So we'll have to fill out some forms. I don't know the exact location yet, but it's not going to be on any city-owned property.
Okay. So it's going to be transported on site then?
It's going to be transported, yeah.
Okay.
Is that something that might wind up at the fill site along either side of the Badger State Trail?
No, that would be a different contractor that's bringing in material. So
so they contract. They have specific contracts, so that's why they wanted to expand that operation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is there going to be any beneficial reuse of the dredge spoils then, or
not for this project?
Not okay. So I assume it's being tested for contaminants, or
actually, with it being in a 100% residential drainage area with no reports of contamination in the past, the testing isn't necessary.
Okay.
Does the existing hardware that's over there complicate matters? There's like a drain in there and it's fed from the neighboring pond, right? This is like an overflow.
Yeah, so the Techland's infiltration basin is immediately downstream of a large wet pond. The water from the wet pond enters the infiltration basin through this perforated concrete pipe. You got like 100 feet of concrete pipe that goes into the infiltration basin. Water can kind of percolate out. I'm just going to have them leave that in place and work around it.
Okay. I guess I was wondering if there was any chance that stuff might be damaging. That's why we need a little contingency.
Should be easy to kind of keep out of there.
Now this Techland's basin is only like 10 years old or something, right?
Yeah, 10 to 12 years old, I believe.
How long have we known this is a problem, and what's a typical warranty period on something like this?
So I am unsure if it was a problem immediately. I think just kind of looking at some archived emails, it looked like there was known that there was an issue. They had a contractor go out while it was still kind of in the warranty period. And again, like I said, the city had tried doing a few different things to improve this. So I think initially they just kind of dug it up, tried fracturing the soils at the bottom again. And I guess that worked for a while. And maybe at that point it was seeming that it additional work wasn't gonna be needed for a little while. But, you know, I can say I've been aware of this as an issue since I started here. I'm sure it's been a known issue for 5 years at this point.
What's the cubic yards of sediment that's gonna be removed? It hasn't been
Yeah,
dredged before.
Yeah, so let me pull up the bid tab here because I got the exact number. So we're looking at about 5,200 cubic yards.
Okay.
And then they'll have to
quite
take
bad,
out,
yeah.
and they'll have to take out an additional almost 1,700 cubic yards to make room for the clay liner that they're putting in. So yeah, in total, you know, it's almost 7,000 cubic yards they'll be hauling out from it.
Is that from between the two of them? Or?
No, just from the Quarry Hill Pond.
Okay.
The Techlands infiltration basin doesn't really have sediment. It's more of just kind of dead plant matter at this point, and the engineered soil that's kind of gotten filled up with fines. There's no difference, you know, the elevation of the infiltration surface is virtually the same now as it was when it was installed. So it's not really, it's not necessarily a removal of sediment. Most of the sediment gets removed in the pond upstream of it.
But the material will be removed from the Techlands Basin. You put the gravel down and then more engineered soil, or the exact same soil that you just removed? What are we?
So they're going to take out, about 2 feet. So the existing engineered soil, they'll remove that. They'll go down with someone on staff on site to look at the native underlying soils, and we'll just dig down until we get to gravel. Until we get to something that has a reasonable infiltration rate. We know from test pits that were performed out there that there are some underlying kind of more granular soils, so we're just trying to hit those. Once we get those backfilled with gravel, we'll put the new engineered soil in. That's about it.
So the stuff you take out, has that got to be hauled away too?
I think it's pretty much all kind of the pores are clogged at this point, and I don't want to try putting that back in.
So are they gonna dewater the sediments on site, or are they gonna put it in sealed dump trucks and take off site? Or they won't leak?
That's gonna be kind of up to them.
Because it seems like if you're gonna dewater there, you're gonna have to have a permit for that. Whereas it's all, you have to have a carriage water permit from DNR.
They will, yep.
Yeah, I think there's some like DNR technical. I think there's some DNR technical standards for
there is
dealing with sediment and.
So they take care of all that then, right? Okay, good.
We're about 20 minutes behind schedule, just time check.
I'm done.
Do we ever plant trees around infiltration basins to get transpiration rather than infiltration? Big help. I don't know what the scale of that would be.
Yeah, not generally. If you had a big enough basin, you could probably plant a few trees in there. It's got to be the right kind of tree because it's gonna deal with some,
which might take 80 years to get to an appreciable rate of transpiration.
Yeah, so not generally.
This Quarry Hill Pond, it was put in, when was it, like?
It's like 20 years ago?
Yeah, 2000, early 2000s.
Okay.
It's been there for a while.
Yeah.
Kim, do you have any perspective on the Quarry Hill Pond since you live in Quarry Hill?
She hasn't swum in it in a while, probably.
Probably not.
No, not really. I mean, I know, from just doing waterway cleanups and stuff, I know when Rick Eilertson came out, he was kind of giving me the lowdown on some of the issues and challenges with it. So, and that was a couple of years ago. So I know it's been an issue.
Thank you. And then Ryan and Diana, you understand in general kind of what, you know, the big picture is with dredging a pond. So we're trying to, you know, the ponds are meant to perform, and part of that is the depth of the pond. And so, you know, over time, like a lot of homes were built in the Quarry Hill subdivision since the time the pond was installed. Presumably there'll be less sediment, you know, as construction, you know, gets done, that we won't have to maintain as much as we have in kind of this first 25-year period. But we're trying to get it back down closer to the design depths. So the sediment that is in our stormwater has a chance to settle out before it eventually makes it to the outfall or evaporates in the pond. But you know, these ponds are meant to treat our stormwater, to take the sediment out of it so that it's not making it into our waterways. And so this maintenance event will help with the overall performance of the pond to be closer to what the design standards were with it. Is that
Exactly.
covering it?
That's perfect.
Okay. Very good. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, you guys understand kind of like what we're trying to accomplish with this project. All right. I think we're ready to vote unless there's any other questions or comments. All those in favor of approval of resolution R-201-25, authorizing acceptance of the 2025 stormwater utility facility maintenance bid, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say no. All right, passes. Thank you, everyone. So moving on to agenda item 4D. Do I have a motion to approve ordinance 2025-0-26, revising Chapter 41 Solid Waste and Recycling, Chapter 70-Forfeiture Schedule?
I move to approve.
A second? I'll second.
Somebody else.
That's all right. Discussion?
Yes, a little background on this, and I'll just define right away responsible unit, because that's a term that's kind of used throughout this ordinance, and that's basically what in simple terms, that's just the DNR, what the DNR is going to call any organization, entity that is responsible for a refuse and recycling program, and really focus kind of on the recycling. So Fitchburg is a responsible unit. So there's state code and statutes that you know kind of outline what a responsible unit has to do as far as education, certain types of materials that they're required to accept in a recycling program, and things of that nature. So in July of this year, there were some revisions to the Wisconsin Administrative Code that do impact responsible units throughout the state. As a result, the city needs to update the solid waste and recycling ordinance. This has to be done by April of next year. And basically it just needs to be updated so it's in line with the updates that were made to administrative code. The forfeiture schedule also needs to be updated. So you'll see there's some different citation descriptions and amounts listed in the revised forfeiture code. So you can see in the packet, I've got the whole Chapter 41 Solid Waste and Recycling Ordinance. The first is kind of what it is now, and then if you keep scrolling, you'll get to a track changed version. This is probably the most helpful version to look at because you can see there's, it's actually kind of limited, the revisions. I'm just going to scroll to the first one.
I had a comment on page 67 and 68.
67.
Why are we, item number 2, crossing out reasons to reduce and recycle solid waste? Tima, that's our primary goal, isn't it?
Yeah, so
why are they cutting that out?
I am Yeah, I gotta look and get an answer to that. So this was kind of a discussion, I think you brought this up.
Could we leave that in? You know,
Yeah.
this is, we're making these changes because we're supposed to align with this, with the state, you know, but are we allowed to be more stringent than the state and say, no, we really do have to make sure people are doing this education?
Yeah, I guess I'd be a little wary of changing things at this point. So the DNR provided us a sample ordinance and, you know, use this, and then we kind of sent the revisions back to them to get their blessing on it. Yeah, that is kind of interesting. I don't know what the reason was to eliminate the reasons to reduce and recycle solid waste, but it's there. So that was one of the changes. One of the more impactful changes, I think, is just on that same page where they outline and actually put in place quantifiable requirements for what a multifamily apartment needs to have for recycling. As far as the volume of recycling, it used to just be an adequate amount, which was kind of made enforcement of this difficult. So now it's 20 gallons per week per dwelling unit. They've got the maximum ratio of refuse to recycling containers as well. So that to me, I think, was one of the big changes in here. Some slight changes again to the responsibilities of owners of non-residential and multifamily properties. Yeah, are there any specific questions on?
My other comment was on page 79 of the packet, the forfeiture schedule. I didn't understand the penalties here for disposal, recycle, separate. You're going to get fined?
You could.
You could.
You could get fined, yep. So that's, again, this is from, the city has to have in the ordinance some way to penalize these actions. So you could get a fine for that. Just put that out there. It is possible. It would be in the ordinance. Now, typically, I don't really know how you would know that, but the bigger concern would be, honestly, if the waste hauler was putting recycling in a trash truck. That would be more of a concern. And I think that would be maybe more noticeable, or someone would see that. But yeah, you can get fined for not separating recyclables. And I think that's probably that would be more of a multifamily or commercial business where someone that's living there says, hey, our apartment doesn't have recycling dumpsters. Clearly then they're not separating out the recyclables if they don't even have a way to do that.
Okay.
Does Pelletieri periodically contact the city about individual households not complying with the recycling versus trash?
I think it's pretty difficult for them to know unless they see
it's mostly automated, yeah.
Stuff sticking out of an open bin. I know that's happened where they've seen, clearly there's stuff in a recycling bin that shouldn't be, foam or whatever, and then it doesn't get picked up. But in general, you can't sort through each bin before it gets dumped, and once it gets dumped.
If only there was a way to put a little camera in there.
Yeah, right. A sensor.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough, like City of Madison is, I just talked with their recycling coordinator at the Sustainability Summit last Friday, and, they're at a rate of 18.9% of what people put in the recycling bin needs to be then transported to go over to the landfill. So, there is a lot of contamination. I don't know exactly where where we're at. I mean, part of the outreach that we do and the material that we put out there is to try to always reduce that percentage and keep it as low as possible. You know, I asked, you know, the city of Madison, you know, this is costing, you know, a couple $100,000 a year. So like it adds up to being like, you know, maybe $3 to $4 per household, you know. And so like I imagine Fitchburg is, you know, got to be, you know, somewhat similar to that. You know, so, you know, I don't know exactly if you know that off the top.
Yeah. Our rep had quoted a number, and I think it was it wasn't 18. I think it was closer to 10.
Really?
But again, I don't know if that's specific to
just Fitchburg.
That might have been some other communities mixed into that number.
Yeah. Regardless, like that's part of the point is, you know, we're trying to always, you know, give the best education possible so people can do the right job of separating, because, you know, as a community, we do pay for that, you know, like it's not, and Pelletieri, you know, or whoever our waste, you know, our recycling hauler or waste hauler, you know, they're going to figure that in, you know, as something that needs to be redirected, and, you know, it's at the material recovery facility. Now they have to load it in a truck and take it to the landfill. And so that cost gets worked into what we pay, you know, as we, you know, don't do as good a job as a community in separating those things out. So this is kind of how it works.
Yeah, a lot of the wish cycling, I think.
Yep.
When in doubt, throw it out was the rule that I
Yes.
was taught.
Right. Yeah, and when in doubt, throw it out. Instead of wish cycling, like, you know, like, oh, I think we could recycle this. We'll just throw it in there. Well, then, you know, now that decision you've made now is leading to, you know, it getting pulled out and then going into another truck and going to a landfill. So if you're trying to do the best thing for the environment, please don't wish cycle. Please do try to follow the regulation, you know, follow kind of the guidance that we have set out in Fitchburg. And, you know, as Bill just said, when in doubt, throw it out is, you know, a better way to go if you have a lot of doubts and you can't figure it out through looking at our Fitchburg recycling guide. Any other comments or questions on this one? We're ready to go to a vote. Okay. All those in favor of ordinance 2025-0-26, revising Chapter 41, Solid Waste and Recycling, and Chapter 70, Forfeiture Schedule, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say no. All right, passes unanimously. All right, moving on to old business. Agenda item 5A, the draft 2025 RCC annual report. So, Ben, do you want to pull that up?
Yeah.
Anybody has any comments that they'd like to share? We looked at this at the last meeting and things were looking in pretty good shape. I know there was a couple of follow-ups that we had.
Well, I just had a suggestion up on the top right box up there. Maybe put Chris up there as chair and then me as vice chair. Put Chris up first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure how to do that because you guys were both at some point chair during the year.
Oh, for 2025.
Yeah, this is our annual report. So you were the first half of the year.
Okay.
On the second half of the year, so I think that works as is.
Right. Yeah. And I will mention it, and I can send the link out again after this meeting, but there's a OneDrive folder where people should be able to have access if they want to pull it up and make edits. I did make a few just since the last time. I threw in the Green Thursday and the Food Scrap Stop launch event in here, and then kind of filled out a few, just got updated with the most recent RCC articles for the Star. But yeah, if anyone's got anything else that they would like to see on this annual report, feel free to email me or
you can, make the edit directly in the OneDrive folder.
Anybody have any comment? I thought it was looking pretty good. I mean,
that looked good.
Pretty
Yeah.
we'll probably have to go in another direction with the December article, because I think that was
Yeah.
Jim's article.
Yeah.
But didn't he say that he had that thing already written? Maybe there's a chance we can just have him submit it.
We could. I could reach out to him, I guess, see if he had it all written.
Hi, I have a question. Sorry. Do you guys have, there was an event actually this weekend over near Henry Villa Zoo, where they were like collecting pumpkins and just smash them, and that was going to go to Purple Cow, and I don't know. So do we have an event like that line up after after everybody is using their pumpkins and carving them for Fitchburg?
We don't have an event, but we tell people or try to direct people that they can put it in with their yard waste, because the yard waste actually also goes to Purple Cow. So if anyone that puts it in there, it'll get composted. And then I think we also just recently made a social media post just to let people know that you can also put the pumpkins in the food scrap stop drop off over at Swan Creek Park if that's more convenient for some people. But as far as an event, I don't know that the city has done that in the past.
No, I mean, certainly other people may have, and we're not necessarily involved with every single environmental or sustainability event. So if there are other events that are out there, there are ones that we put on or help to organize as a commission. But there certainly may be other events out there that are environmentally or sustainability friendly, and they can always reach out to us. We're happy to promote those events, or if we hear about them. Often, I think Phil and Ben will try to get those into and then they're happening in Fitchburg, we'll try to get those into the Green e-newsletter. But it doesn't mean that we're tied to every event that happens in Fitchburg necessarily. So if there is something like that that's happening, that's great. And if you know about it and want to help promote it or say something about it, that's always an opportunity within our Green e-news, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking that can be a very good opportunity. There was a person that was from Waste and Renewables there. Her name is Delaney, and I know her. So she was trying to do that. It was the first event they were doing with also MMSD schools, and we were there. So also like focus on energy. So I was thinking we can do that in Fitchburg as well. I don't know, I don't know if I can coordinate that, but that would be awesome to have for everybody within the neighborhood.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, we're open to those ideas, and if we feel like it's a good use of our time and energy to do it, and, then we can, go forward with, planning such an event. So we're not, opposed to not having those types of events. We just, it starts with maybe gathering a little momentum at the community outreach subcommittee level, or with the RCC, and going down to the community outreach subcommittee. So we can start there, and then we are very open to partnering with others to make those, so if it makes sense to partner with a Dane County Waste and Renewables, we're always open to those partnerships and working together, because I think that kind of helps everybody in spreading the workload around to put those events on.
And under stormwater and groundwater initiatives for fifth line, there's a period needed after suspended solids to run on there. That's been up in all data.
Okay.
Yep.
Speaking of the Swan Creek, I mean,
Who could have predicted?
yeah, he was supposed to have a presentation tonight from from USGS, and Todd couldn't give it because of the, federal employees can't work. So he's gonna give it to us in January, so.
Okay. So we'll plan on that. Thanks for yours and Ben's coordination efforts on that one.
Yeah.
Trying to get that ironed out before this meeting. I know we're trying to squeeze it in before our last meeting of the year, but it just didn't happen, out of our hands. So I think action items, Ben, would be like people are still open to come in here and review this and
Absolutely.
make comments. Otherwise you'll update with our final article going in December and anything else that might pop here at the end of the year, but then that'll be finalized here at year end and be going out either year end or early January, something like that.
Plan.
Okay. Sounds good there. All right, moving on to agenda item 5B. So this would be looking at the draft 2026 RCC calendar of events and event planning. So
I think
go ahead.
I think we should look at the focus for 2026.
Yeah.
So, then that kind of shapes what we do for the rest of the year.
So this is, a good point for Diana and Ryan, if you want to have any, input on some of the things that we have focused on. Otherwise, other commissioners that have been around for a while, if you feel like we want to keep things the same for our focus areas, or if we want to shift or reword or anything like that, open for everybody's suggestions at this point.
It does still say the passing the outdoor lighting ordinance.
Yeah.
Get rid of that.
Yeah, get rid of that. I think the US gauging station on 9 Springs Creek or Murphy's Creek, when Todd's here in January, maybe we could approach him to that and see if we can get like a proposal from him to find out what it would cost.
Yeah, I think that would be great, and I think he even mentioned, Murphy's Creek.
Right, yeah.
Last presentation.
So we can plan that for the budget for 2027 then? Consider, yeah, okay. So I think that should still be on our radar, so.
Perfect. I think, with our food scrap collection, I think organic waste and composting should remain.
It'll be the first full year, so.
Yeah.
So it'll be our first full year of it, so there's going to be a lot rolling out with it. And the Dane County landfill has made it through the feasibility stage, and so now it's into kind of plan of operation and the design phase, but we're not that far, we're probably less than 5 years away from our waste going into a different nearby but adjacent landfill, where the Yahara Hills Golf Course currently is located. And as part of that plan, there is going to be a ramp up in trying to increase organics collection. So we're kind of, doing our test drive with the food scrap collection now. That may change. I've had some more conversations with both Sustain Dane and the Dane County folks, and there's discussion of potentially setting up more drop-off spots. I think the lock on there is just kind of enough of a deterrent to not get general waste in there. But from my first look, walking the dog 1 week in and going over and opening them all up this past weekend, everything was like 100% compliance. There may have been a few stickers in there potentially, but like all in all, the things that we want to see in there, people were complying with. There was a drop off happening, when I was there myself. So I think, we can kind of just build off this, learn from it, see how we're going to try to, expand and do our part as, the community of Fitchburg in kind of the greater organics management and collection that's going to be becoming more of a forefront and focus within Dane County going forward.
So shouldn't we have like at least one sustainability focus? I'm not sure. When we did this, we've got their plan together, so.
I know the kind of bike ride has been brought up a couple times in the past, and still think that could be a nice idea.
You're suggesting maybe we should have something with like something a little bigger, something
Right,
citywide, something of yeah. So I wonder if we should look at the sustainability plan and maybe find one or two of the action items in there to stress for the year.
I think that's a good idea.
I think that's a good idea. Phil, like one of the things I was thinking about coming into this meeting was, just kind of like, as a sustainability specialist for Fitchburg, what do you think is kind of our ideal role with, helping to implement the sustainability plan? Where can we be most helpful? Are there any focus areas that, you would like to see out of us in 2026? It's pretty loaded.
Put me on the spot there. Yeah. I think that if you give me a little more time to think about this specifically, I can come up with a more, we'll say, coherent answer. But I think certainly the RCC has served a really important role in terms of just being extra hands and voices and boots on the ground, helping to coordinate events and do outreach. And there are certainly things like the waterway cleanup would not happen if not for the RCC, and things, continuing things like that, of course, is just kind of at the base level. But beyond that, I think that maybe I've also started thinking about what could be done to not lose the energy from the planning team that helped put the sustainability plan together. It was really unfortunate timing that the plan got passed and then I spent like 60% of the next 5 months on parental leave. Great for me, not so great for getting the plan enacted. So it certainly is. I'm actually technically not working today. Today's the first day of my final 2 weeks of FMLA, and then I will be back full time. And at that point, I'm going to start meeting again with department heads and key staff and kind of talking through what are the priority areas we want to focus on next year. But that only covers things the city is working on, and there are items in the sustainability plan that are more about partners and outreach and community. And so I think that's where something like the planning team, the RCC, can really be impactful. Is helping to get the word out where maybe the city doesn't necessarily have the capacity to, or the same connections. I think the RCC can really serve a useful role there at kind of being that bridge between city and community.
Yeah.
And I know that's vague. It doesn't.
No, that's all right.
It's not a marching order.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just think about it. Like, we can have more discussion about this after you have some of those conversations. But like, I want us to have a role and be involved with implementing this plan.
Yeah.
And
so
wherever we can be.
My goal coming into 2026 is to have 3 or 4 areas to really focus on. It's a lot of action items. And even if okay, the action items are just kind of a pick list, none of them are prescribed things we have to do. Even beyond the action items, it's 42 different metrics that we're seeking to make progress on. Everything from increasing population density, public transit use, to reducing food insecurity, to increasing organics diversion, decreasing wastewater generation. There's a lot of metrics in there, and I really want to pick 3 or 4, whether it's specific metrics or kind of focus areas that I want to spend my time on next year. And I don't know if that's necessarily going to be aligned with RCC. Maybe you'll say, hey, here's one of those 3 or 4 that we want to really help bring to fruition. Or maybe you'll say, there's something else in the plan that we really feel strongly about, and that's where we're going to focus our efforts. I could see either one of those being successful.
Well, one of the things I'm thinking is, energy efficiency is always a good place to be. We do have a shift in the number of federal tax credits that will be available for people that want to maybe put solar on their homes. And so, maybe shifting back to some of the basics. Even though I've heard some people say that they're like loaded with a lot of solar work for next year, which was somewhat surprising to me. But like, I remember when I put solar on my house, like before I even got to that point, they said, well, let's, you want to try to do everything as efficiently as you can. So we're kind of like, we're not putting solar energy on to take care of things that you could, if you change the light bulb, you could be just saving that energy. And so, maybe, and especially with Diana's, kind of ties and new energy, maybe going back to some of those energy efficiency basics, kind of supporting some of the things on city buildings, that, I think Diane Streck had been talking about these metal halide lights in this room from like 2008. Being able to make a shift to LED lighting and some of these things, and other things, I know that there's other recommendations potentially related to that at the library, and maybe there's a retro commissioning project, but, things along those lens of things, I think we could do, could make a pretty big dent on the energy efficiency front.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm certainly pushing renewables internally as much as possible, but was it Amory Lovin's coined that term negawatts?
Mm-hmm. The
idea of kind of eliminating the megawatts, get rid of, if you're thinking about renewable energy as a a quotient, we focus so much on solar energy and wind, which is the numerator in that division. The denominator, what's that overall amount of energy that you're trying to make up with renewables? Shrink that denominator first, and now you have 30%, 60% less energy that you need to produce from renewable sources. Absolutely, efficiency is always the first area to focus on. I agree.
So I think organic waste and composting and the USGS gauging station remain on, and then increasing use of native plants. Do we want to?
I was wondering about that. I think we should, I don't know, it's been there for a while. I'm not sure what we're doing there, but I've been thinking, is there something we can do, as a commission, to reach out more to the diverse neighborhoods that we have in Fitchburg, to let folks know what we're doing in terms of recycling, sustainability? Are we doing a good job at that? And if we are, how do we measure that?
I don't know. I think maybe we should try and get a presence at the Eco Latinos Fair next April.
There's one
That'd
idea.
Be a good start, yeah.
That's a good start.
That's a good start.
I mean, I think we should have somewhere at least education in here somewheres.
Well, I mean, like, we are getting, more apartments, more multifamily complexes. And that was a focus. Kim and I can, have some experience in that realm of going to multifamily, and those were really good educational events. We would hold up different things and, ask people and do a quiz and have some rewards. We'd have pizza, just kind of teach people about recycling. It was an opportunity for people to get, a free meal that night and come and learn a thing or two about recycling and whatnot. Those were fun events. Sometimes we would, we'd have reusable bags that we could give away at those events. They're pretty well attended, and we had a stretch of time where we're doing that, but like, we're only adding more and more multifamily complexes, and the education outreach to those is one of the things that we should be trying to do. So like,
it's no longer in the ordinance.
What is not in the ordinance?
Well, that was that was the owners of those buildings.
Well, I mean, like, so more the reason to put it, so if they don't have a reason to educate their folks on it, then that's putting a little bit more onus on us to get out there. And we do this a little bit through our Fitchburg Star articles, but I don't even know how many of those get to multifamily complexes.
So I think maybe education and outreach to multifamily dwellers or something like that.
Yeah, maybe make it a little more vague, not necessarily recycling, but we could do in other areas.
Because I think most of these
We
large
can reach out.
apartment complexes don't have like a common area that
Yeah.
people come to and barbecue or whatever. We, give your presentation in
Yeah.
those common areas or something.
Yeah.
Find a big complex and reach out to them.
Diane, I thought you were maybe
I
gonna
was
say
thinking
something.
about,
You're a little quiet.
yeah, I was just thinking, sorry, I was just thinking, do you hear me?
Yep,
Yeah.
perfect.
Awesome. So I was just thinking about the Tenant Resource Center. I don't know if they have a relationship with multifamily. I don't know if the multifamily apartments that are here in Fitchburg or renters or they own the apartment. I don't know how that works. But anyway, I was thinking I have a relationship with them. Why don't we give them the information as well so they have it and then we can start like that, like educating renters? I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Could give us a starting point.
Yeah.
We're, it's overdue. It's probably been a good, I don't know, Kim, 6-7 years since we've had a outreach event at an apartment complex. So, I think they kind of stopped before we, got into COVID, and then, we really haven't gotten back to that realm. So, we have done events at the Boys and Girls Club too. Was a really, so planting the seeds with those kids there, and then them taking that home is a, another, good way to do outreach. So we could circle back to some of those past events that we did where we were actively doing that. But Kim, I'll go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, the reason that I think well, not only because of COVID, but, it's really hard to get into those apartment complexes unless you have a connection or know somebody, in those buildings. And so I think it's very time consuming. So I think if somebody, was willing to kind of take the lead and, on this, I think that would go a long way to, trying to get this as a priority, because as Chris said, this was something that we were making some good inroads with a number of years ago. So it would be good to do it again.
So outreach on sustainability to multifamily complexes, maybe enhancing some of our energy efficiency outreach. Are there any other items, big picture focus items that people want to throw into the hopper?
I think if we keep it like at 4 or 5,
Yeah.
I think it's manageable enough.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, and I guess we'll see what happens with action items from the sustainability plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe this is a document that we can all get into as well, Ben, right? Or is this that one?
And I'll again send the link out after the meeting.
So people can work on this. I might take a little closer look at month to month, but if you have ideas, can put them into the focus, and then I think maybe we'll have another segment to just try to finalize this plan at our January meeting. Maybe gather a little bit more input from Phil on the sustainability plan, where we can be in the mix there and see if that's aligned with what we've kind of come up with initially tonight on our focus areas, and then we can finalize this after the January meeting for our focus. But I'll take a little closer look between now and January on kind of all these items on the month to month and update some of those, because I know that those probably need a little bit of editing, and then I try to align those with what our focus areas are. So
for January,
yeah,
USGS is going to come and give a presentation. Are we going to have 2 presentations for that meeting?
Well, yeah, I guess we could, because we could have the January one for previous water year, and will be a new one by, we could probably have one in January and plan to have one in November again, more like a normal.
No, I mean, we have the police service facility
I'm sorry.
presentation and
I'm sorry.
and the USGS, so that's 2 presentations.
Okay, there's not gonna be a police services,
Or it's not-
That's probably from last year. So
that
like,
was from last year, yeah.
so I think, need to spend a little bit more time going through the individual months. Been kind of more so at the high level focused level right now. But now I'll kind of go through this, and then I think we'll have one final detail review, and then kind of adopt this as our game plan for the 2026 calendar year after our January meeting. So.
Because it's helpful to have all this, because for the agenda items planning.
It is, yeah.
It's pretty helpful in terms of building the agendas.
Yeah, very helpful.
All right, any other comments on that before we move on to our next item? Kim, how are we doing on time?
I'm not doing very good, Chris. I'm really sorry. I know we're trying to get you out.
We are trying to, well,
so
I still have
I
everything
will.
blocked.
I think there's no score in Packer.
Won't let anyone else talk or ask questions.
All right, moving ahead to agenda item 5C, Green Thursday event recap and planning for future events. So Kim, do you want to give a rundown on how things went on Thursday night?
Sure. Well, this will be really short and sweet. We did not have a very good turnout for the film. We had, our mayor came, and Sharon and Ben and I were there, and then we had 2 additional people from the area who showed up. So it was pretty small crowd, but we did have a pretty good discussion afterwards. And we talked with Rebecca afterwards about, how we could get the word out and kind of drum up more people for the next one. And she said, it's really tough, especially, the winter months when, it starts to get dark outside and people just kind of huddle inside. So I think we're going to have to do some more thinking and about creative ways to get the word out and bring people out. One of the challenges we have is we either have to pay for the film or just use what is available at the library. And so this film that we showed was free, but it was significantly older. So, that was one of the comments that somebody had made is, well, it'd be nice if it was, a little more up to date, but a lot of the things that they talked about we're still dealing with, unfortunately. So we kind of talked about, looking into some other options of how we could get some other films, more timely films. So I don't know, Ben, you have anything else to add to that?
Not so much. I guess, it might just be a matter of trying to jump on the marketing of things as soon as possible, and I don't know. Maybe
I think getting it in the Fitchburg Star would help.
Yeah, that could help.
Hurt. There wasn't I looked on the library website. I didn't see any type, or on their Facebook page, I didn't see it as a Facebook event. So I think we could talk about should the library have it as a Facebook event, or should we, just some things like that we could, have marketed better. I had some concerns when I posted in Swan Creek, and I don't know that I got, many likes on it, so maybe it was just that it was, something, older, and so just kind of how we pitch it, could be helpful for future ones. So I think some lessons learned, I'm glad that wasn't a complete strikeout, but, and some of those have been, just kind of smaller events, even when I go back, sometimes there are only 5, 6 people, but like, you have a really good discussion with the people that are there. And so, but in general, like I would, like if we're gonna put the effort forward, like I would love for this to be more like 10, 15, 20, 25 people, somewhere in there, make it more worthwhile for our time. So I think, we'll take that away from this one, and not give up on it yet, but like, there are some things that we have to work through. Like, if it was just a $50 thing to get a film to kind of show at a library, like, that would probably be, but I think, Kim, it's much more than that, isn't it, to get some of these?
Yeah, it's a couple $100.
Yeah.
So unfortunately it's kind of the new way that the libraries are doing it nowadays. Where in the past we could just do any movie and there was no cost, but it's like having to go through them. We did talk about if there were other films out there that we could bring to them, and they said they would have to work with us on getting permission. So we'll have to investigate that a little bit more.
Is there a time frame it has to be done by, or, we have to be done by 10 o'clock or something, or?
8 o'clock is when the library closes.
What time does it close, at 8?
8.
Oh, okay.
So
8.
we had to push it on this one. This one was like over an hour and a half, and we started at 6, so we're done at like 7:35, and we're supposed to have we're having a discussion afterwards. So, I mean, ideally, we're targeting some type of documentary or environmental film that's between an hour and 15 minutes would be ideal. And then we have like a 15-minute discussion afterwards, and we get people out of there in an hour and a half.
Yeah. I remember when I was in St. Louis, the Astronomy Club did a thing called the date night. Mm-hmm. Bring a date and you could watch a film, and they had, all kinds of sci-fi type films, but if there's something like that we could do, a date night, but have like a green-oriented film or something. Something that Robert Redford did or something, whatever, just as an example. But, make it like a date night, so we'll try to sell it in that context or something. Would have pizza or popcorn.
We did have some popcorn.
We did have popcorn. I'm glad we didn't waste our pizza budget on it. So.
Yeah. No, that's good. Diana, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I do have some questions. So I was thinking, does the film that you show, I'm sorry I was not able to make it, but does it have a translation? Like, are you able to put subtitles in Spanish? That's one of my questions. I have like 3 questions, so I don't know. I was thinking on maybe sending a survey for people that went and watched the movie and see like, how can we improve it next time, and how they can bring more people. And then if they can sign up before the movie, so we know how many people are coming and we don't waste resources.
Yeah, I'm sure you could get some different subtitles. I would think.
I think that would be possible. I think we all know that we could do some different things. So like, I think before we ask the general public for their feedback on what can we do better, like I think we'll kind of try to make some adjustments on our own, and take those first. We could go through the effort of like doing a survey, but then that's some effort. So like if we have somebody that has the energy to do that, I don't think that that's a bad thing to do, but I also know that I think we can kind of take we've done enough of these events, and we normally do pretty well with these events. We don't typically have a problem with attendance. This is the first time in a while that we've had this problem, so I think we can just make some internal adjustments before we start seeking the public's input on something like this. But always open if people want to share it, like even at the event, like I think Kim, gathered some and shared that with us. So, we try to do it, more proactively than reactively, I would say, is our general approach. And what was the third question?
I was just thinking that if there's any way that they can sign up before the movie,
Okay.
so we know how many people are gonna attend. So I guess, it's like just send. So I guess the question will be, do we have a database for all the neighbors from Fitchburg? And is it possible to send that, just a sign up sheet, and then see how many people sign up for that, and then we can be more prepared for next time?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes with that, like people sign up and then they just don't show up. I mean, but like, that can be, I think it's worthwhile looking at maybe different platforms where we can get people to sign up. Some of those come at a cost, and we typically make these a free event. So, we just have to kind of like weigh those things, in. Like you can do like a Facebook event and people can say if they're interested or planning to attend through that. So a lot of times we'll have that. Sometimes we can just get a feel from our social media posts. So like I had a little bit of a feel from early on that this was probably, could be low attended just based on how people respond to it on Facebook. So, I think we have a pretty good pulse on these things. And, generally we know when it's going to be like 60 to 70 people versus, when it's going to be more like 20 to 30 people versus 10 or less people. So like I think we have a pretty good pulse on that, but I do think it's not a bad idea kind of help with event attendance to look at platforms and see if that might be worthwhile looking at for our events. Could certainly help us have better attendance. We're always looking to have as many people attend as we can.
Looking at the list of notify me options, there's a green Fitchburg that we, maybe we can get that. And there's library adults and library teens.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody who's signed up to those things, we could get a notification out coming up in January. We got to pick the date still, or?
I think that might be something that we have to share after this meeting. I don't even know if we have the film picked yet.
No, we have a date, but we don't have the film. There are not a lot of free options right now. So that's something we've got to figure out. If we're going to stick with the sustainability film, what we're going to do, or do we do something else? So I don't think we have time to discuss it tonight, but I think it's something maybe our outreach committee can have a conversation about and, come up with a game plan.
Sounds like a good action item, Kim. Thank you. And then I think, maybe Ryan, you could give like a really high level review of the event planning, just like a quick 30-second debrief on where we're at, and we're probably looking at, more of a sustainability tour early next spring. Is that right?
Yeah, that would be, I think, the way we're going now. Oops. Yeah, the way that we're looking right now, I think just in talking with Andy, I swung through over there where we were looking at Dunn's Marsh to see if there was power running to the little shelter there. The person through Wisconsin Talks we were looking to bring in actually has like a 30-minute PowerPoint that he kind of walks through groundwater quality, stuff like that. And then I think after that was when the plan to walk through Dunn's Marsh and actually have somebody there to kind of answer questions. And but I didn't seem to find an outlet there easy. I think there must be something in one of the facility or in the building because there's power there, but that'd be something that I can reach out to somebody with the parks or whoever.
Yeah, we could get you power.
Have a better idea.
You're talking about at the Dolly Hub?
The Dolly,
yeah,
that's what I'm thinking, the Dolly.
There didn't seem to be any outlets there. I mean, it looks like there's power at that hub, but there's no visible outlets that I could find when we were there. wandering around, looking around all the corners. I felt like I was intruding.
Did you bring a
But there is
hacksaw
a
so
lot
you can
to
get
do
through
on
the conduit?
That's there you go. But yeah, I think at this point, weather-wise, as we just kind of got, kind of a background on it with the colder weather, darker day, it's if looking for, I think, engagement, that I think would be the plan to look early spring. And then we could have a conversation about, as things melt, things start getting back in, how does the Dunn's Marsh area really help with, water, groundwater quality and stuff like that? I think could play well there as a spring tour. So
Okay.
that's where we're at. But my hope here, I think, is over the next month and a half to basically talk with Andy, maybe put together a handful of ideas that I can bring back to the committee in January of like, here's 2, 3, 4 that I think would be good for the next year, which I think Ben's noted on the future events of doing sort of maybe a season-based kind of sustainability tours. So.
Okay. Yeah. Hearing how busy our April is, I'm thinking it'll be a challenge to get it into April. But maybe we can target May. So just as you're having your conversations with Andy, maybe like think more in that time frame, because April's looking really busy already.
Yeah, Yep, that sounds good. I can bring that up. Thank you.
Sounds good. Agenda item 5D, Fitchburg Star, upcoming articles review. So Andy's not here to review that. I don't know that I have that on top. Does anybody know if they have an article that they have coming up in December or January? I basically wanted to get us through January.
They're listed in our...
Oh, they were in our packet, right?
Yeah, so it says taking action to reduce chloride levels in Fitchburg for November. Who is doing that?
Ryan did it, and
Ryan
did it.
Okay.
I believe.
And then trash talk for December. So we need to figure out whether Jim has that already written and wants to do that, or if we need to.
Well, I probably should reach out to Jim on that and see if that's a possibility.
Who?
Jim.
Oh, I thought he's still around, or?
Well, I mean, he's
still in the area, I think. He only moved to Madison, right?
Right. So we could see if he still wants to, has the article and wants to submit it. So there's a chance he's going to say no.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then maybe I could do one on food scrap, since we just started that.
Yeah, sure. That'd be a good one.
Okay. So that'll get us through December, one of those 2 options. And then January, did we have anything?
Maybe an energy efficiency one? Things to do around your house or something in the winter?
Okay.
Possibly.
That sounds great.
Well, I tell you, I'm not very popular at my house when I tell people to turn the thermostat down to 61 degrees.
I bet you're not.
You're not popular.
All right. Does anybody want to take that on? The energy efficiency article?
I can take it.
You'll take it?
Me.
All right.
The focus on energy lady is going to do energy efficiency. That makes sense.
All right.
Right?
Well, that'll be fun. I look forward to working with you on the article. I think I'll work with Andrew and we'll get some things shared off to you. But you can, why don't you plan on that for January? I can share a handful of other articles with you so you can kind of see, kind of how we approach these articles. So we want to put a title on them and then say a little bit about yourself and a blurb about the author at the end, that you serve on the Resource Conservation Commission and what you do with your day job, that type of thing. So, okay.
Sounds great.
All right. Thanks for taking that on. I appreciate it. Let's just stop there with January, those 2 months, and then we can, at our January meeting, we can talk about February. But be thinking of articles, because we are gonna, have to punch one out probably a few weeks after we have that January meeting. All right, so I think we've worked through our old business. Moving on to number 6, council update. Bill.
Indeed. We had the UW Health Life Point Rehabilitation Hospital groundbreaking on October 30th, which was also the date we had the Business Appreciation Luncheon. So 4 Fitchburg businesses were highlighted there, needed relief, Kelly Moss, Noble Knight Games, and Tapatios. Sign ribbon cutting is happening this Thursday. The road is open now.
Oh, I'm aware. It was great. I figured it out Friday morning.
Okay, $13 million later.
Is that all?
The November 24th, we'll have the ribbon cutting for the new North Fish Hatchery Road hub. That'll be, I think, at like 4 in the afternoon. Coming up next week is the interviews at the Committee of the Whole meeting on November 17th for District 4 Alder. So whoever has applied, the deadline was like November 4th. So whoever has applied will show up, and current council will drill them with questions, and we'll see if we can find somebody we'd like to fill in that seat until April. Updates from the October 14th council meeting. Our solid waste collection rates were approved. Design services for the underpass, for the bike underpass under MM out near northwest of Terabessa, that got approved. So we'll have that design, and I think constructed in 2027. Fitchburg Road has moved into the property acquisition phase. So I think there's like, I don't know, 20 or 22 homeowners that need to be negotiated with to get permanent and or temporary easements for that construction. Pickleball courts at McGaw are gonna get lighting, and we'll have, so there were 8 courts and then 4 new ones, and we'll have lighting over the whole area there, but the 4 courts can be lit separately from the 8 courts. Transportation and Transit Commission reviewed RFPs for the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. So this was a grant that the city went in on with the county, City of Madison, a couple other municipalities, and then the current administration decided that they were gonna force people to jump through various hoops in order to get that money. And so it's been a process that's been dragging out for quite some time now. And I think we're slowly moving forward on that. We've got a City in Motion update planned. I think that was last updated 2019 maybe with the comprehensive plan. New development, the Lido Apartments out near the roundabout with Cheryl and Lacey. That'll be our first pilot for, we'll have 10% affordable units within a larger market rate building. So I think it's like 114 total units, and they're gonna do 11 or 12 that will be affordable, meaning I think at the 60% of area median income, something like that.
Okay, that's cool.
So kind of workforce housing. From the October 28th council meeting, the Tower Hill shelter is complete. So you should be able to get back in there. You could right now, but it's kind of chilly. You might not do much till spring. The new Parks and Forestry manager started on November 3rd. I don't remember his name. Eric, yes. On Nesbitt Road, the new apartments going up out there, kind of near Jimfinity across the street from 10 Pin Alley. There's gonna be 2 buildings there. One of them is affordable senior housing, which is gonna be Wisconsin Green Built Gold Plus certified. So they said it was roughly equivalent to like a LEED Silver sort of a designation, and it exceeds code minimum energy efficiency by at least 15%, and they will have also some solar panels on top to power the common areas. And so I think all of that environmental sustainability related stuff is was partially due to the fact that it's all affordable housing, and so they got WIDA credits for that. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
When you say affordable housing, do you mean renting or buying?
I think those are all rentals.
So no one's buying anything?
Right.
When you say affordable?
Right. So broadly speaking,
I get mixed up with that, so.
When people say affordable housing, what they really mean is you're not spending more than 30% of your gross income on your home, whether that's mortgage and property taxes and utilities, or rent and utilities, you know.
Okay.
It shouldn't come out to more than 30% of what your gross pay is. And then, of course, they talk about, you know, affordable at X percent of area median income.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's a well in the North Stoner Prairie area, and that came in quite a bit over. The bids came in high, and so we rejected those bids, and we're gonna make a few adjustments and let that project out again. I'm not sure, I guess over winter here. Hopefully in the off season, we'll get some better bids.
Yeah.
But there's also adjustments to be made, because the initial design had like an open air shelter attached to the well house, but we just built an open air shelter in North Stoner Prairie Park, so we don't need that. So
right.
And the last thing, and maybe Phil can comment on this, one of the inverters that was replaced on the library has failed. And so they're working on about 2/3 of their array. So like 1/3 is just, we're not able to take advantage of that power because of the inverter.
All right.
Yeah, so a library inverter failed. We had Arch Electric out to replace that inverter, and they did so. But a couple weeks following, they said, hey, we're still not getting a signal. It looks like there's an issue with, I'm trying to remember if it was the data logger or if it was just a wiring issue. But that one inverter is still not recording any production. We don't know if that means that it's just not transferring data or if it's not producing at all. We won't know until they come out there, but we've had an issue where the library's budget for repairs like this is kind of tapped out for the year. And so working to see if there's a way to make this happen before the end of the year, if we have to look into 2026. We also have an issue with one of the West Fire Station inverters again, so we'd like to get those both handled at the same time. But yeah, so the library one has been out for a couple months now, if you go back to the one that had failed earlier in the year. So the new inverter is on. We just still don't have all the hookups working properly, apparently.
And Phil, do you know, once we're completely back up and running, will we have the web portal with the data like we had previously, where you could go? We had the links on the site. You could see what the production was from all of our municipal systems.
Yeah, is that portal not currently working?
Well, I haven't looked at it in a while. I was assuming that it was through Huawei initially, and since we made the change, I didn't know if that was, if the new setup had that already, whatever. I guess
I'll double check it there. So all of our data tracking online is not through Huawei. It's actually through a website called Also Energy that we contract with. So that was actually a really fun thing, which I'll put in heavy air quotes. Last year, a year and a half ago, when we initially started replacing Huawei's with SMAs, because Arch Electric had to figure out how to adjust that data upload, because they knew how to get Huawei to communicate with Also Energy to get that data to show up. The SMAs was a totally different thing, so we had several months that we just couldn't see any of our solar production. But as far as I know, they're all functioning now. I pulled up the first couple and they look okay.
Okay, cool. Like I said, I haven't looked in a while, and I probably should have, but it's nice to know that it's there.
Very good.
Yep.
Thanks, Bill. All right, moving on to 7A, solid waste. Ben?
All right, so at the end of October, we had our food scrap stop launch event over at Swan Creek Park. Pretty good attendance, somewhere between 40 and 50 people. End of last week, Thursday, there were 115 people registered for the Swan Creek Park site. So it's definitely kind of growing with the registrations. I don't have any numbers yet as far as quantity of or volume of material disposed there, but we'll be getting some updates monthly from Dane County Waste and Renewables. So I'll kind of continue to share some updates on how that's going. And then actually today, the city got a new dumpster over at the recycling drop-off site. So this dumpster is now going to be able to accept not only just the polystyrene, but plastic films, packing peanuts, bubble wrap, plastic grocery bags, plastic grocery bags, straws. There's a whole list and there'll be a sign out there. There is a sign out there that kind of goes over what you can and can't throw, but it's, really any plastic film, virtually, or foam product, even like the foam takeout boxes. So that is there now, and yeah, that's free for any resident to come by and drop their stuff off at.
So Pelletier is actually able to separate all that stuff out and properly recycle all those different streams?
So it goes to, I don't think they have to separate it out. I think they can all take it to their buyer, Brightmark, I believe, and they can turn it into other petroleum-based products.
Wow.
So that's a pretty big deal. That's a pretty big change. Everything's always changing in the recycling world, right? So, so we're probably. Do you have a plan for doing some outreach on this with some social medias?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I was not expecting it to be here today, but I did let our social media, our communications team know, and we should be seeing some posts about it. And we got some nice signs. It was too cold to put the vinyl signs up on the dumpster today, so we just got some,
this week.
we got some temporary ones on there, but we got the nice signs on there. And it's really great because people were throwing that stuff in there anyways. So now it's not contamination anymore.
It's not contamination anymore. So look for the city of Fitchburg if you are on social media for those posts to be coming out, and if you're able to share those within your own neighborhoods, or if you want to do your own types of posts in your own neighborhoods, get the word out about that. That would be really helpful if commissioners are able to do that.
And we're still collecting
There is still,
for the next treks.
Next treks.
Yep, so that's up here as well. Stormwater, we've got our vegetation management RFP out right now. We'll be getting proposals towards the end of November to review. Also be issuing an RFP for some storm sewer televising. We're just trying to get some visual on the storm sewer and the underneath the roads that are going to be potentially reconstructed in the next 3 years. We don't want to pave over any junk storm sewer, then have to go back and replace it. Mm-hmm. So we talked about the stormwater facility maintenance project. Our consultant did complete kind of final stormwater modeling for the Fitchburg Road, Goose Lake stormwater improvements project. We had been doing some groundwater level monitoring this summer, fall as well. I did pull those. We'll go get those back in next year, but I think we got a kind of a path forward. Maybe I'll kind of talk about this more in depth at a future RCC meeting. And then we're also working on putting some plans and specs together to upsize a portion of storm sewer on Schumann Drive and then add in basically kind of an overflow into the Seminole Glen kettle. This kettle had filled up in the past on a couple different occasions and threatened a couple homes. So we're gonna look to get a pipe in there and get the ability, or have the ability to have that water drain by gravity rather than having to pump it out. So we'll be looking at getting that project out for winter bidding, probably more like January.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ben. 7C, sustainability, Phil.
Yeah, bike and pedestrian plans, still waiting for the equity committee to set their meeting schedule so that we can get a referral sheet put together. So still working on that, kind of in the background. We did end up submitting, I think I talked about this at the last meeting, the Dane County Charge Up EV charging grant. Submitted one application for McKee Farms Park for the parking lot there to get some EV charging stations in that lot, and we had the initial application was tentatively approved, had a site visit with Dane County folks and KL Engineering just to check for site viability and kind of get everybody at the same place to make sure we were all on the same page. Assuming that everything goes well from their end after they take all the measurements back and look through everything on their end, then hopefully the next stage will be contract discussions. So just as a reminder of that one, Dane County received $13.2 million from the IRA before it was shuttered. That money is to expand the public charging network in Dane County. So numerous entities, a lot of private businesses and multifamily and apartment owners, as well as some government agencies, government entities applied to put some of these charging stations on their property. If we end up going through contract negotiations, then we basically put 4 new EV charging stations at McKee Farms Park that would be publicly accessible. And just like any other public charging station, user would come pay a fee and be able to charge up their vehicle. But it's just closing some of those gaps in the network where right now, if you don't have a charger at home, you might have some difficulty owning and operating your EV. So it's trying to address that. We did join the Wisconsin Local Government Climate Coalition, got that approval vote from council in October, late last month. This was great timing, the week after we were approved, or the week after council approved that resolution was the annual LGCC in-person forum for members. So I headed up to Baraboo, carpooled with a couple of folks from Middleton and Dane County. The discussions from that forum are then going to inform the focus topics for working groups for next year. So this year there were working groups that put out a couple reports on electrifying your fleet and greening the grid. And so we'll use the products from those discussions to figure out what the focus groups look like next year. Also submitted redesignation documents to SolSmart last month to hopefully get our rating upgraded from bronze to gold. We're kind of trying to sneak it under the wire here because the Department of Energy is no longer going to be funding SolSmart or ChargeSmart. These are 2 federally funded programs to give technical assistance to municipal agencies to improve their solar permitting, their solar education and outreach, and ordinance structures for solar and also for EV charging. So we were already bronze. That happened back in 2019. We had a few additional accomplishments since then. I'm trying to get us up to gold before funding disappears and we no longer have the support to sign the documents. Last thing is on the police services facility. Bill, I don't know if you have any updates here. I just found out today after reaching out, the last I had heard was that we were planning on going through lead certification again, and now that's been pulled away again, apparently. I need to reach out to the project team and figure out what's going on. We just keep going back and forth on will we, won't we with lead certification. But I'm not being I'm not getting any communications on that front unless I reach out. So I'm the project team
For the new police.
again when I get back from FMLA. But at this point, it sounds like the police building will not be lead, which is disappointing. And I just don't know the details on what happened there because I was pretty hopeful, especially when the whole project came in $7 million under budget. Certainly, there's plenty of budget to go through that certification process, but they may have felt otherwise.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything in a while. So once we heard that the bids came in low, that came through council, and there was a line item in there, like $170,000 for lead certification. And I mentioned at that meeting that I was glad to see that we were gonna do that. And then city administration said, well, we're not sure yet. And so I hadn't heard any follow-up from that since then. So I don't know any more than you do, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look into that, but rough time to find it out since I can't just make phone calls tomorrow very easily. But yeah, that's everything for sustainability.
Sound good. Thank you, Phil. So then, just for Diana, we have a segment for 7D. It's activities being conducted or monitored by commissioners. So this is just kind of hodgepodge. You know, we try to keep this really brief, but if you have anything that you'd like to mention, here is our spot in the agenda to do so.
I've got a couple of things.
Okay, go ahead.
So I sit on the Greater Madison MPO Policy Board, and one of the items we talked about last week was the Transit Asset Management Plan. So they have, you know, buses and garages and maintenance vehicles and stuff, and they have metrics that they need to track for these. So like percentage of vehicles that are beyond their projected life cycle, for instance. And one of the issues that we brought up was, hey, you just got 62 new electric buses all at once. 14 years from now, all of those are going to be past their expected lifespan. You know, what happens to those buses? And the interesting thing for RCC is that, you know, decommissioning a bus is actually quite an ordeal. But one of the things that can happen with the batteries from the bus is that they can become grid storage. So kind of like our Sunnyside solar field, it's going to have, you know, 160 megawatt hours of capacity, battery capacity. These, you know, electric vehicle batteries are considered no longer acceptable for use as an EV battery once they diminish down to like 80% of their normal function. But those are perfectly fine to stack out in a field somewhere and use as grid storage. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Yeah. And then maybe a question for Phil. I don't know if you've seen this. There are rumors going around that Ford is no longer going to make electric F-150s. And I know the city has maybe half a dozen of those by now. And the staff seems to like them. I don't know if you're on top of that and whether, you know, there are other suitable alternatives for when additional trucks reach the end of their life.
I don't know about alternatives. We do like the Lightnings that we've got. Actually, a couple weeks ago, I had to go out in the field and see one of the streets crews. They were installing a bus shelter, and they were drawing power from the F-150's battery to power their hammer drill, which was kind of fun to see. So one, they're not spitting out a bunch of emission into their faces from a gas generator, but also it's a lot quieter, so they can actually talk to each other between rounds of drilling. So I know that there are concerns about a combination of aluminum supply and also tariffs on aluminum that I think that the economics are challenging right now. And I don't know, I'm not positive why it's more the case for the Lightning than for other vehicles, but that's all I know right now is it has to do with aluminum supply. And I don't know any more details, but hopefully they find a way around it. I know it's it's popular among our team, but overall, I think it's been one of the more pleasant surprise stories of the whole EV development cycle in the past 10 years.
I think the Silverado.
I don't know of a backup option if those go away.
You have a Silverado EV and GMC has a Sierra that's an EV.
Rivians.
Yeah.
Might be a little out of the budget.
Yeah.
All right, I just had a couple of very quick things. So I know that Phil and Diana and myself, at least, had attended the Sustainability Summit for Sustained Dane this past Friday. So sorry I didn't get a chance to meet you there in person, Diana. And Phil, I saw you, and I think we just didn't have a chance to connect. There was a lot of conversations happening
We were
that
both
day.
very busy.
So a lot of good stuff happening in Dane County. A lot of good focus on affordable housing and energy efficiency was talked about there. But we covered a lot of good topics. It's always, if you haven't had a chance to go to the summit, I'd recommend it for anybody on the commission to try to go to this summit. It's really open to everybody, and it can be a really good step back, big picture look at sustainability and meeting people doing like-minded things around Dane County. So we have that, and then quickly on the carton recycling in the schools, I've been in touch with the sustainability coordinator for the Madison School District, and she, over the last few months, has been pretty much gathering supplies to do the rollout to all of the elementary schools. So this aspiration that we've had for a long time to happen in the Madison schools is happening in the cafeterias. I'm going to probably be attending a couple of those sessions at different schools over the next couple of months, and we'll report back how it's all going and a little bit more metrics on it in January.
Very nice.
Any other announcements anybody has?
No December meeting.
No December meeting. We will be meeting in January. We'll share the date out on that. I don't know it off the top of my head, but we'll get that out. Ron will share out the meeting minutes, and then Diana, I'll work with you on the, getting you set up to do that article for January. So thanks for volunteering for that. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays, Happy New Year, all that stuff. We'll see you in January.
Okay.
See you, everyone.
Have a good night.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.